first of all, we want to say thank you to everyone that's joining this MIP virtual users group. We thank you, and we know times have really changed since this time last year, and this appears to be a very good platform for doing the users group going forward, with everyone being able to get on, everyone being able to jump on, come in, don't have to worry about driving, don't have to worry about parking, and obviously we all know about the COVID situation. So we wanted to use this platform. Now we have three main participants in this user group. We have Andy Holman with Ritz Holman and his team. We have Charles Turnbull from ProSoft Solutions and his team. And then we have Anthony Harris of ALH Enterprises. Now I'm going to let everybody just introduce themselves real quick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, was that a question? Okay, I'm going to let Andy, then I'm going to let Charles introduce themselves and however way they want to do their introductions. Then right after that, we will start right into it.
All right.
All right. So Andy, if you want to go first, then Charles with the
Right.
introduction. Charles, you can introduce yourself and the team, and then we'll go right into the agenda.
Morning, everybody. I'm Andy Holman, principal with Ritz Holman, CPAs in Milwaukee. Anthony and I have been working together probably last 20 years or something like that, if I count exactly. So we do a lot of things with MIP. Our firm works with lots of nonprofits all over the place. And we also have part of our team here is Lynn Chasen and Kelly Goodman are also on this meeting. So welcome. Charles?
Thank you, Andy. Charles?
Yes. Hey, good morning. Hey, my name is Charles Turnbow, and I work for ProSoft Solutions. And best way that usually describe how that ProSoft and ALH Enterprise, Anthony and I work together to help manage your relationship with the software vendor, with MIP. I function as an account manager and have a relationship directly with MIP. So if you ever have some type of problem with either you're having to stay on hold too long with the support case, or you have a question about an MIP module, and say maybe Anthony might be tied up with another client, you know, feel free to reach out. Anthony and I, we work hand in hand, hand in glove together to be able to make sure that your experience with the software is the best that it can be. So we're definitely here to serve you, and we'll just make sure if you don't have my contact information, you know, make sure that you even reach out either to Anthony, and he'll make sure you can get in touch with me, because I'm a good backup. I might not always have a quick answer for you, but we have a whole team of certified professionals that if I don't know the answer, I can get you connected with somebody that can help you. So good morning.
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 Good morning. Thank you so much for that, Charles. And we are going to jump right into our users group and the topics. Can everyone see this agenda that we have, MIP users group with the agenda? Can everyone see that?
Yes, I can see.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we went through the first part and we've done our introductions. Okay, we're gonna have Charles Turnbull to come back to you with ProSoft Solutions, and he's going to talk about any Abilla news, and he's also gonna be talking about any promotion and sales. Now, Charles was very modest. Let me just say it like that. ProSoft Solution is the #1 MIP reseller, period. They have a lot of leverage and power with working on your behalf with Abilla to get you the things that you need or try to get things accomplished. So ProSoft Solution is a excellent resource to keep in your back pocket. So
All
I just
right.
want to say that Charles was very,
Uh,
very modest, very modest.
Thank you.
But go ahead,
Thank
Charles.
you, Anthony. Yes, thank you, Anthony. And so, yeah, I appreciate that. And yes, we're here to help you. And like I said, if for some reason there is something that's really giving you heartburn, something of that nature, we want to hear about it, because then also that's something that we'd want to pass over to the software vendor, being Abilla MIP. Some of the the latest news is that in the big picture, MIP continues to develop and enhance the software. They have a lot of current development efforts around their cloud. They have continued to invest resources as far as like on back-end technology to help clients be able to have a better experience in the cloud. But then also, as we all know, kind of going through this unprecedented time with COVID and all, it has created a big surge with clients needing to move to the cloud, because everyone is starting to work more at home, and the anywhere access has really benefited them. So as far as like on news and all, here later on in the agenda, we're going to be talking about more of the recent release. So that's probably the hottest item right now as far as with news. But just in general, they are continually enhancing the software. I would encourage you that if there is a feature that you don't see in, or that you really would like to see built into it, there within the product, you can always be able to submit your request of enhancements right in there. It's typically, if I remember right, on the support tab within the software, you'll see it. But also, if for some reason you need to be able to have a little bit more of explanation of what you really would like, feel free to send it to Anthony and I. We'll pass it over to the development team. They really, the more people that are making suggestions, the higher that enhancement comes and floats to the top of the roadmap. Now kind of moving into kind of more promotions and sales. Right now, there's not a lot of official sales that are setting out there that they're that you may have not really been receiving a whole lot. But what we've found is, like Anthony has says, we have a lot of buying power, if you will, just because being a leader as far as with MIP, they do listen to us. So if you do have an interest in a module, or especially if there's two modules, a lot of times we can be able to negotiate special pricing on like two or more modules. Or if you just have a single module, let us know. We'll do the best we can as far as on saving you money. We all have a heart for nonprofits and government agencies, just because we understand you don't have an unlimited budget. We all come from backgrounds from either nonprofit or government agencies, so we understand how to stretch your dollars, and we'll do everything we can to be able to help you out as far as on saving money, so that way those savings can be spent more towards your mission. But anything that does come up, just raise your hand, let us know. We'll see what we can do for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. Now we're going to jump right into the heart of this users group. When we sent out the invitations, and we did something we never do. We said urgent users group. Now, anyone that knows me, I never ever sent out that at a users group unless it's actually warranted. And that's because, let me tell you why I said urgent. That's because once you upgrade to the newest version of MIP, Abilla, version 2020.2 or 20.2, there will be some dramatic changes in this upgrade, and it will 100% affect you, especially when you go, well, even when you're trying to log in the software, but we're going to get to that. But probably the most item that will give you the most exposure is the processing of your 1099 for tax year 2020. NEC, non-employee compensation. The government has made changes. The software has made drastic changes, and you will not be able to generate 1099s out of the system the way you've done it in times past. So that's the reason why we call this urgent, because we did not want anyone to get to the end of the year or January 1st or January 2nd and cannot get the 1099s, because that's major panic, that's major stress when you already have other things going on. So that's the reason why we want to address this topic now, so that you will be in a comfortable situation when the end of the year or beginning of the year rolls around. Now, we're going to let Rich Holman come at this time. And Andy is going to talk about 1099, or sorry, the NEC from an accounting CPA perspective. Andy?
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to share my screen for a second. And here, probably this one. Maybe I'll do this one. Everybody see the 1099 NEC?
Yes.
Okay. So the IRS changed the rules for 2020. As you're probably all aware, there has been the 1099-MISC, which included non-employee compensation in the past, along with a bunch of other stuff. Starting for 2020, the non-employee compensation part has been split off from that form and has become this new one that I'm showing on the screen here, which is fairly simple, at least in terms of how it looks. You have, that's the same payer's name, the amount paid, that'd be organization name really, the recipient name, and if there's any withholding, etc. But that is a totally separate form from the MISC, which was not the case before. If there's questions, by the way, you can put them in the chat room. We can talk about them, or verbally, either way. The next slide here is, sorry, I want to do a slideshow, but I can't get on the right screen. Anyhow, the requirements. Basically, the requirements for the NEC haven't really changed from what was on the old 1099 MISC, which are $600, at least $600 in services, cash payments for fish. We really don't have that, of course. And then attorney payments go on this, not on the MISC. So attorney payments, no matter what form of organization the attorney legal firm is, have to be in a 1099 when they're paid $600 or more in a year. Then we have, so that really hasn't changed. It's just as like it's moved to a new form. The other thing that has not changed, luckily, is the exceptions. So as in the past, as you can see here, the exceptions all from the IRS rules. If it's a corporate, if you're making payments to a corporation, including an LLC, which would be considered to be a corporation, not a partnership, then there's no requirement to do the 1099 NEC. Also for good merchandise, you don't do it. Rent will stay on the 1099 MISC here. Sorry, this is moving around here. Wages, of course, do not go on a 1099, as we know. They go on a W-2. And then there's a whole bunch of other lists here that you can see right from the really not that relevant. Business travel, if there's not an unaccountable firm. I should mention, because this question comes up occasionally, is if you have a consultant and you're reimbursing that consultant, outside professional, for expenses, and they give you the documentation for those expenses, that amount never has to be on a 1099 because it's documented expense. The amount that must go to any 1099 like this 1099 NEC would be like a flat allowance for which there is no documentation provided. Then it's all goes in the 1099 to the service provider. And that's really the gist of this thing. It hasn't really changed. except for being a new form, which Anthony's going to talk about because that does have a big bearing since you cannot put it on a 1099 MISC anymore. It has to be in the 1099 NEC. And I'll stop sharing with that.
Thank you, Andy. Are there any questions? And anyone have? Go ahead.
I do.
Yeah.
For the consultant portion of it, prior we were putting them on the MISC. Now a consultant will go on the NEC, correct?
Correct, yes.
Consultant, and
Yeah.
that would be the same as like if we were to put someone on the box 7 prior, like in the 1099 miscellaneous.
Yeah.
If they went on box 7, can we assume that all of those are now going to be on the NEC?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that box 7 was all non-employee compensation. I forget the exact title in the old rules, but
You want me to look it up, Andy?
they moved it to the firm. Oh, sorry?
Do you want me to look that up for you real quick?
I can get one. I can look that up later while we're doing your next part or something. I can call up the old form from 19.
Okay.
Okay.
The new form in the 1099 MISC just has rents. I think the main thing is going to be rent. A couple other odds and ends. I think the main one that comes up for us is
medical ones?
Sorry?
The medical ones? If there's any for
Yeah,
box like
I
2 or
think-
something, or yeah.
Yeah, I'll call up the new form for the MISC. We can probably look at that in a second.
Okay. All right. Good.
All you can,
Thank you.
because you have to really
Answer
look
my
at
question.
how the thing goes. Yeah, sure. Other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a question. I just needed to unmute 2 of them. My question is, so we're going to be doing a 1099 NEC and a 1099 in the old form. We're going to have 2 forms or just 1 form?
2 for if you have to report rental payments, which is quite likely for many. Medical 2, I got to check that right now. But yes, it really depends on what you have to if you look at what you reported last year between the box 7 and the rental box and all that, that will sort of guide you what you have to do this year.
Okay, and then next question is, can we get a copy of your form with what form to use for what forms you're listing?
Yes, I think this session's being recorded. I have to, yeah, I can probably send it. I can summarize the 1099 MISC versus NEC. It's all in one instruction of the IRS, but I think the most useful would be look at the other form too to see the difference. I mean, basically, for MIP purposes, you're going to have everything else already coded into MISC. So as Anthony's going to talk about, it's what you're going to change from the MISC to the NEC code and MIP. Otherwise,
Okay.
You should be tracking the same way. You just have to, well, if you're assuming that you're going to probably get the, in fact, you have to file the 1099s electronically. So it's just a question of how they get produced between putting 2 different forms in either a printer, if the case, or having the service provider doing that, which then it's not an issue for you at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank both of you all. Those are some wonderful questions. Any others?
Anthony, I just got in the meeting because we was having problem with our system.
Mhm.
And I know I missed about at least 17 minutes of it. So how do I get the beginning?
We're recording this session and we'll have it on our YouTube. We have a YouTube subscription or place that we can send out the link for that as well. So you can really
Okay.
take that.
That'd be great.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Please include me in it also. I was having trouble getting in also.
Yeah.
Thank
And you
you.
might want the recording anyhow for reviewing some of the technicalities, of course. That's one nice thing about doing a user group this way, where we can can review it a little bit and skip things on YouTube. You don't want to have to look at it again, etc.
Right, right. Thank you, thank you.
Now,
Yes, go ahead.
Excuse me, I know I wasn't there earlier, but is there a different type of form that we have to use that replaced the 1099 miscellaneous?
Yes, 1099 NEC, that's what I was just talking about, is, like, maybe I can show both in a second here. I got the form up here. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let me just do this. I'm going to share screen again. It should be this one. Here is the new 1099 MISC. There used to be this box 7, which now is like something about direct sales, which doesn't apply to any of us, I don't believe. You're going to have, the only thing on the MISC, 1099 MISC now is not only, but it's changed. There's no non-employee compensation, which was the bulk of what was used, has been changed to 1099 NEC, and remaining on the MISC is rents, royalties, other income, and I think the medical payments here are box 6. That was the question you all had. So, and they have this weird thing called gross proceeds paid to an attorney, but that's only for legal settlements. Payments to an attorney for just regular legal fees go on the 1099 NEC, and any payments, as I was saying before, to consultants, service providers, unincorporated ones, that is, get put on the 1099 NEC. As same rule really existed in prior years. It's just moving to another form. And I can just show that. Let me show the other form again for a second here. And here is a new form again, just to review. See, it's much simpler because it only has what was box 7 is this right here. Nothing else is on it except if you have withholding taken on for somebody, which is also relatively rare, but it's there.
Okay, so for the consultant, we used to use box 7. Now we will be using the box 1 under the NEC.
Yes,
form?
it's a whole new form. Yes, like you can see it there, right? Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it, I think.
All right. Any final questions before we actually move into the software and show you how you are going to configure your system? Any final questions before we move into the next part of the users group to actually show you from an MIP standpoint, you know, what's going on in the system of the software?
Yes, question.
I have a question. Will the NEC have its own summary sheet like the 1099 has a, I mean, like the transmittal sheet, like it's a, what is that, a W4? I can't remember the summary.
That's
Or do they all go together on the same summary?
1096.
1096.
Thank you, Jill.
I think the 1096 covers all 1099s, as I recall. Kelly or Lynn, remember that?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're all out of one. Thank you.
All on one, thanks.
Yeah. And you check, as I recall, you check the little box what kind of 1099s are attached to it or whatever. Well, that's all be electronic anyhow. So.
Okay.
Yes, there is a box for the 1099 NEC on the updated 1096
Thank you.
form.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay.
All right. Final call. Any other questions? All right. We will move forward with we will move on with the agenda, and we will actually open, well, we have the software open. Okay, so next we are going to be talking about version 2020.2 or 20.2, whatever you want to call it, and how you, what do you have to do? You all that are in the cloud has already noticed the change in your software. For anyone that is using a software on an on-premise, you may still be on an older version and you do not have this functionality. You will have this functionality as soon as you upgrade to the newest version or higher, 2020.2. So, okay, so let me go into MIP. First of all, when you process any transactions, you have any vendors that are still coded. I'm just going to choose a vendor here, ABC.
Mhm.
If you still have any vendors that are coded MIC and MIC 037 or whatever, the software will warn you, especially if you, the 07 non-employee compensation. You would start noticing a warning when you're processing the 07. Why? Because that's been moved. Now, what you will have to do, every single vendor that you are tracking compensation, just like Andy stated before, your consultants, your different ones, any of those, the new code is NEC, non-employee compensation form 1099 NEC. Once you select that new code, then you have to come over here and choose whether it's NEC-01, non-employee compensation, federal income, to withheld, state income, or state payment. So you will have to physically touch all those MIC 07. Now, if you have a few items, then you can change those by hand. If you have a lot of items, then you might need to contact us for help with doing imports, exports, and things of that nature. Okay? So every vendor that you're processing at MIC 07 will need to be converted to its NEC and whatever applicable drop down, most likely NEC 01. Any questions on this before I go further?
Anthony, will it, when we change it in the vendor record, will it go back and change the whole year, or are we going to have to fix it here?
Wonderful question. Gil, thank you for that lead in. You can.
You're welcome. Anything I can do for you, Anthony.
Thank you. Unfortunately, it will not be retroactive. You will have to go here. And you see what I did in this 1099 adjustment. You see, I put a negative entry in our software to take the MIC 07 out for reporting purposes for year 2020. Then I put a 2020 adjustments to NEC 01 or -01 for the same amount. So you're gonna have to bag it out and put it back in. Bag it out of MIC -07, put it into NEC -01.
Anthony, do we start doing that now, or do we wait until the end of the year?
To be honest, I will, number one, change all of those vendors ASAP that you're generating non-employee compensation to NEC-01 ASAP.
That's what I thought.
Number two, I would start, if you are going to do it by hand, then yes, I will get started on it. Depends on how many you have. Like I said, if you have 100 of these, this is a dual entry to take it out, put it in, take it out. The good thing about it, it's a simple entry, but it needs to be done.
Time consuming.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before I move on to the next part?
How do you do that global? I mean, can we need, if we have to do it global, because we have a lot of entries, I wouldn't want to do them one by one. So
if you have a lot, I would say you would probably need to contact us because we will have to do an export import. We will have to run a report, and I'm going to show you how to run the report for you all that need to know, well, Anthony, how did you get this dollar amount right here? That's a wonderful question. We're going to show you how to get that exact dollar amount out of your software so that you can do it by hand. If you have a lot, then we need to generate a report to get all this out, then generate imports to flip the switch and change this from MIC to NEC. In that import, change this to NEC01 if everything, is the same. And then also do a hit to change this, put this entry in there and put this entry in here. And to be honest, I need to check on this entry and this entry. I know I can do this and this, change the setup through an import. I need to just test this. I've never done an import to do the 1099 adjustments. It should be able to be performed, but I'm going to show you how to do this manually.
Oh, I have a question though.
Go right ahead.
Is that before you do the upgrade to the upgrade MIP? Those changes gonna happen before you do the upgrade or what?
You have to upgrade. If you are on, hold on, let me show you. If you on any version of the software that's earlier than 20.2, if it's 20.1.1, if it's 20.1.2, if it's anything earlier than 20.2, then this NEC will not be in the drop down. Neither will none of these be in the drop down as well. So first thing, you will have to upgrade to the newest version. And this upgrade has some twists in it. It's not, and I'm going to talk about that after we get through the NEC, because this upgrade has a lot of changes to it. So this is probably one of the big ones.
Okay.
Any other questions before we show you how do you access or get the correct amount for each vendor? Okay, let's go. All right, let me show you what I did. I ran 2 reports. I ran a check register to make sure I had the right amount. Then after that, I ran a cash journal to get the exact 1099 amount. And let me show you the check register that I ran. Let me click the drop down. And this was a regular check register. Nothing fancy about it, okay? This is a regular check register. You can see, okay? The only thing I did with this check register is, hold on. Let me see, where's the one I saved? Okay, all right. Now, only thing I'm doing with this check register is I'm just filtering on our vendor ABC, okay? And I'm going to run this check register. And as you can see, what we paid ABC, $1,650.71. That's our standard check register. We all know how to do that. That's our number that we may have to potentially adjust. Now, how much of this is miscellaneous 707, miscellaneous -07, or could it be miscellaneous -01 or 03? What you would do then is come into software and run a cash journal, reports journal, cash journal. For any of you that process 1099s, you know that that cash journal is your 1099 go-to report. You see, you have the software already has your 1099 detail, your 1099 summary. You can take the 1099 detail and just build a report right off of it. And I've already built one right here that's called 1099 register. It's for the year 2020, start to finish. You can see my dates. What I did in the content. Now, what I did is a little bit different is I sorted this by name and ID so I can look up everything. And I think the rest of this information is built into it. And I'm just filtering on our vendor in question, ABC. If I run this report to the screen, you will see, let me make this a little bit wider. you can see, let me just go to the total, the proof our total. The total on this report ties directly back to our check register that we all know, $1,650.71. Check register, $1,650.71. So we know we are working with all of the payments for this vendor. Now, let's go back to the top. What this report does is it can break out your 1099 by their boxes, okay? So you can see miscellaneous 07, that's that amount, and you can see it have other, they have disbursements. You can see right here, there's a check on February 3rd, there's a check on March 5th, there's a check on March 20th. Oh, okay, you see right there. This is why you run this report. March 20th, there was no 1099 MIC-07. So this amount would be $1,650 less this amount. That's the reason why you want to run this report. Just because you paid that vendor $1,650 does not mean you make the adjustment, because here is an item right here that did not have any 1099. Maybe it was a reimbursement or whatever. So that's the beauty of running this report. This report will also show you if you switch this over to NEC, you would know you would need to bag those numbers out of this total for this vendor as well. So do everyone see, this is your report where you are going to print out, spit it out to Excel, and maybe sort this by this 1099 box to make sure you filter out or you take out all of your NA. Make sure you're not overstating anything. Any questions on that, Steph?
Anthony, is it possible to filter this report just for MISC 07?
Well, Andy, yes, you absolutely can. Let me come over here. Filter, what was that, 1099 box, what's the name of that?
Yeah, MISC 07, let's see. 1099
just,
type box.
Where do you see it at, Andy?
It's about 7 down from the top.
1, 2, 3, 4, let's click that over. There you go. Okay, so yes, you can do that. Okay, and come on.
Whoops.
Come on. Right there. Okay, so let's run this report now.
Sure.
Okay, so then that's your amount for your adjustment, disbursements. So I would need to go back in and change this from 1,651 to 82209. So this is actually pretty good. Let's go do it. You actually get a step.
Could you then run this report without being just for one vendor, but for all vendors?
Well, yes, that's what you would do in real life.
Okay.
I just ran it just because
Gotcha.
we're
Okay, cool.
identified. So what was that? 9 cents. Okay. So you would come in here. This would be 822.9 cents. I'm sorry.
Negative.
Thank you. Thank you. 22.09. And this would be 822.09. That's your entry.
Yep.
Now, the reason why I didn't filter it, because at first I was using it as a proofing tool, just to make sure that this was tying back to the check register and that we were pulling everything and then, so, but that's been done. But like you said, Andy, going forward, you can do this and then just filter on your miscellaneous 7. And that would get all of that out of there.
Right.
questions, comments?
Where did the NA come from? Was it from when the transaction was done or when the check was cut? We're on the report where it says NA instead of a miscellaneous 7 or NEC. Is that something that needs to be adjusted for also to get back to the total NEC that will appear for what you paid the vendor?
That's a good question.
That's a good
I
question.
don't know. That could be could be in a reimbursement.
Yeah.
And then when you put the invoice in, instead of miscellaneous -07, upon invoice entry, the transaction entry, they most likely manually change that to NA.
So you could check all the NAs first, because that would be true even under 1099 miss, you could miss them. You know, they could not be complete if somebody coded it, miscoding it or something.
Mhm.
So that's a good point.
Right.
I run that first to check get out, make sure everything is coded some way. Of course, if they're NA, you just change it into NEC, I suppose, at that point. But nevertheless, you have them identified.
And then just rerun the report after you make the changes and, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you make your first pass, you may not want to filter just to see what's out there.
Yeah, good point.
And then when you make sure that there's no entry error or whatever, then you can focus on, what you want to focus on.
Okay.
But these are the tools and the steps that you would need to be able to manually change this, adjust this for yourself, and get your correct numbers adjusted for your vendors. Any questions or comments before we move on to some of the other updates to version 20.2? And there are some important updates that we're going to cover as well.
Anthony, this is
Yeah.
Paulette.
How are you doing, Paulette?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful.
I have a quick question. I pulled up a cash journal, okay, and I'm looking at it, and I showed that my 1099 type is miscellaneous 07. But then when I go to the maintenance where you add add it for a 1099, it just shows the NEC. It's already there. So even though it shows it here on the cash journal as a miscellaneous 07, but on my miscellaneous 1099, when I enter the information, it doesn't say NEC.
Are you saying that when you get to this screen, the vendor screen?
Right.
Okay.
Everything is entered NEC. Okay. Everything is entered correctly here. Okay. But then when I pulled up the cash journal, it shows miscellaneous 07 and not a NEC.
Okay. And that's because, Paulette, that's a perfect example. That's because everything that was processed prior is still being recorded under MIC MISC-07, and that's going to have to be changed.
So that's where I take it out and put it back in.
Right, right. Because remember, this update just came to the cloud maybe 3 weeks ago or something like that to the cloud, and it just became available to individuals with on-premise software on-premise maybe a week or two ago. So all of you all most likely have the minimum 6-7 months of miscellaneous 07 transaction out there that you have to do something about because you cannot report miscellaneous 07.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So that's where down at the bottom, in the maintenance screen where you enter everything, I'll have to put, let's say the amount was 2,300. I gotta do it as a negative to the miscellaneous 07,
Yes.
to the miscellaneous 07, and then put it back in as the NEC,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Okay. And you see, MIP even, Abilla even gave you a hint, like right here. This is a system vendor from the sample database. They actually showed you in 2005, they took out 300 out of miscellaneous 07, and they put 500 in 06 into miscellaneous 01. So they're showing you it has to be an out, it has to be an in on this screen. All
Okay,
right.
thank you, Andy. I'm not Anthony, thank you.
We know what you mean. Any other questions on this before we move on to the upgrade in general? Okay, let's go back. Okay, so that's some of the main things. That's definitely the number one thing with the 20.2 upgrade that's going to affect everyone. I know some of you all have to leave, and let me skip around a little bit and cover some of the most important things. Password related improvements. We'll come back to reporting in check one. Password is required for all MIP users and is no longer optional. Everyone with no passwords, those days are over when you upgrade to the new software, and you have to upgrade to new software to cut 1099. Forced password reset is not optional. Okay, so forced password reset is not optional. Minimum password characters length is enforced. You will need to use a real complex password going forward. No more of 123 is your password. No more of ABC is your password. I think it's uppercase, lowercase, all that good stuff. Just like everyone else makes you use a complex password, MIP will make you use a complex password. For all you administrators, the admin user password will need to be changed. The default password for the admin user, I know that was a wonderful password. I loved it. It helped me out so many times, but that's going away. You will have to upgrade your admin password. Everyone most likely would have to upgrade their simple password to a complex password. Okay? Let me see. Maximum password length is 100 characters. Did we read this one? If the user hasn't set the minimum length previously, it will default to 8 during the upgrade. Your minimum password length is 8 characters if you don't have anything longer. User password expiration is enforced. Your passwords will expire in the software. That will affect all of you, all of us, okay? Let's see. The interval value, the value can be configured. Minimum value is 1 and the maximum value is 365, okay? If the user hasn't set this value previously, it will be set at 90 days. If it is set to more than 365 days, it will reset at 365 days. So that's saying that reset can be extended out as far as 360 days. And I'll be honest, depending on how you use your software, you may want to set it out 360 365 days or whatever, okay? This is what I just said. You're gonna need to use complex passwords going forward. Let me skip right here. Cannot use the last 6 passwords. MIP will keep track of your password. You can't use the same 2 passwords over and over and over again. You cannot use the last 3. You will need at least 7 passwords because you can't use the last 6. So that's going to affect everyone logging in at MIP. I know it's much different than the culture we've grown used to, but it's for our own safety. Any questions on that? And like I said, I definitely wanted to touch on that because that's majorly important. That will affect everyone trying to log into the software. Okay, let's go to reporting. Okay. This is a minor upgrade. You remember how if you did not have Microsoft Excel installed, you couldn't export to Excel? That's been adjusted in the new version of the software. The software can export the report to XLS and view using any XLS reader. So you can generate XLS reports to XLS. Now, you no longer just shut down. Questions or comments? Okay. Now this checks and forms, incidentally, where I'm getting this is from, let me show you where I'm getting this from. I just went straight to the software, help, and I just did the what's new. Right here in the software, and I'll drag this over, and all of this is coming directly from the software itself, just to let you know where I'm getting all this from. Okay? All right, so let's just close that and let's just continue on. All right. As a reminder, checks and forms. As a reminder, checks and forms is the preferred vendor for MIP fund accounting software. Okay. That's really not that big a deal. That's minor. And there's one other thing that might be important to you. This MIP idea portal. You can put your ideas and suggestions out here. mipideas.abilla.com. And let me see, I think I have that open. Let me look for that tab. Let me look for it. I know I had that tab open so I can show it to you. If not, I can copy it real quick. No big deal. Let me open that tab. And you can see individuals are using it. Individuals are putting their ideas out there. And I just want to show that to you. Give me one. And here you go. All right. So this is this MIP Ideas portal. You can see you can click on recent to see the recent ideas. And then you can actually vote on if anyone has an idea out there that you are floating yourself. As Charles said earlier, the number of votes really would promote these ideas and trends. So if it's something important, call your friend, have them to submit a vote as well. Push this thing to the top, okay? Let's go to popular. You see, this one has 136 votes. So obviously, Abilla's gonna look at this before they look at this. And then you can just click this new to add a new idea. So this is another way to put your ideas out there for Abilla to look at. And then call your friends and get them to vote on it. Okay. Any questions or comments? Now, what we always do before we close a users group, we always open up a users group for any questions or comments, because you may have something that has nothing to do with version 20.2. You may have something that has nothing to do with 1099 miscellaneous 07 or NEC 01, but you may have something you want to ask a question on. You can do that now. So we always like to give individuals a voice at the users group. So anything you would like to ask a question on.
Hey, Tony, I have a question. This is Robin from Forefront.
Yes.
I had thought I had saw in your agenda about being able to export reports to Excel without having to save them. Did I see that or no?
Well, without having to have Microsoft Excel installed. Because before, because the tool was export to Excel. And if you didn't have Excel, you could not export to Excel. And they're saying with the new version, Excel is no longer required. All customers that own the data import export module can now export reports to XLS and view using any XLS reader. So you can export and then just look at them somewhere else.
Okay, so there's no feature where you can just export right out of MIP and not be forced to save the documents. Because sometimes I just want to see something, manipulate it real quick. I don't want to save them, and I have to constantly save everything, as far as I know.
Robin, that's a good point. To be totally honest, I never thought about that, but that is an excellent point. So I would definitely use this mipideas.abila.com and call some people and see if they can float that. Because like I said, I never thought about that, but that does, to be able to put it to Excel directly. So, but you're right. Right now, that does not exist to my knowledge.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any
Anthony,
other?
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Anthony, do you have to close your fiscal year before you can do the upgrade?
No, you do not have to close the fiscal year to upgrade to 20.2.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback on that, if I have a couple years older open, should I close those, or will everything just move forward appropriately?
Everything should move forward appropriately. Some people have experienced, I'm going to be candid with you, Robin. Some people have experienced some items with their balance sheet and their net assets. Andy, do you want to chime in on
Yeah,
this?
well, and double-edged sword. I haven't dealt with this for a little while, but as important as closing is to preventing posting. I had a case one time, several years ago, where the year was closed and somebody still posted to the year that was closed. That was really a mess. So you have to be careful with that. But it's true, the balance sheet does adjust itself without having to close the year. But I think there can be some weirdness when you do cross year reports if you don't close at some point. I don't know that I've had any kind of exact thing. I don't know, Anthony, if you've had any specific issues with that.
I remember a client or two that had to close their year. On a norm, Robin, there should not be a problem. There should not be a problem. But I do remember in my memory in time past, there were a client or two that to get what they want to, they had to actually close the year. Yeah. But that's not that's not the rule, that's the exception.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Okay.
All right, well, we definitely do not want to waste anyone's time. If that's all the question or concerns, then we can wrap this users group up. And is it safe to say everyone would like a copy?
Yes.
We'll send out the link of the,
Yes,
to the
please.
YouTube.
Please.
The link of the YouTube we can send out as soon as it's set up.
Okay, okay,
And a copy of the agenda.
okay, no problem. Do
Oh.
me a favor, do me a
As
favor.
checklist.
I could send it to everyone that I sent the link to. Now, if I did not send the link to you directly, shoot me an email. That way I can send you, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to overlook you if you are here and I didn't send it to you directly. So if you didn't directly receive the meeting information from me, just reply to me or reply to Andy and ask for the link. And we can put that out there for you. We can get that to you.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for attending.
Thank everyone. And
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. That was
Stay
great.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.